Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about Finding Dory. And this movie came out in 2016, directed by Andrew Staten once again, who directed Finding Nemo. And that movie I really loved, and I thought it would be interesting to watch both of these movies back to back, kind of one day after another. And this movie came out 13 years after Finding Nemo. A lot of time has passed, and the biggest noticeable difference in terms of positives that I can say for this movie is the animation quality. And that I thought looked pretty great. There was more detail to pick up on when it came to character designs and all that kind of stuff. It just looked more real and like authentic, and it was impressive what we were able to get from it. And unfortunately, in terms of positives, that's like, well, not the only good thing about the movie. I'm not going to say that, because there's still other good things about it. I do like the cast of this movie still, and there are some likable characters in it for sure. And I wasn't really bored by this movie, despite it being a couple minutes longer than Finding Nemo. There were some likable characters. My favorite character in this movie being Hank. I thought he was a fun character. And also the sea lions were kind of funny, even though they were barely in the movie. They were still memorable. And the movie did have some good scenes that were memorable that I did like, especially towards the end. There were a couple decent scenes that I thought, yeah, that's pretty good. But overall, I'm kind of torn on this movie because I just don't feel as though it's that interesting of a story to me. Like, Dory has to go and find her parents. So, like, sure, that's fine in concept, and there are plenty of things you can do with it, and I just feel as though Dory is not that interesting of a main character because the whole movie is riding off of her remembering things, and she starts to remember some stuff, and that's how things get going in this movie. And the humor in this movie didn't always work for me, and that was something that was kind of dragging this movie down, is that I wasn't really laughing at the jokes too much. And also, going back to Dory being the main character, I think she works better as a side character. Even though she was in a lot of Finding Nemo, she wasn't the focus. So, like, you didn't exactly know what was going to happen to her character, if she was going to be fine. She works better as a supporting character, not a main character, not the focus, because I just don't find her that interesting, honestly. And this movie does have plenty of member berries, and it's constantly telling you, remember that moment? Remember the whales stuff that was in the first movie that was kind of funny? Yeah, now we have to explain it in this movie why that happened the way that it did. And this movie just explains things that it doesn't need to, but it doesn't anyways. And I was like, really? Did we need to go this direction? I don't think so. And most of the movie, I just didn't really feel any emotions while watching the movie. I was just passively watching it. I was like, okay, that was fine. That was fine. That was fine. But I wasn't really engaged with much of it. And I just found the most egregious parts of this movie to be the member berries. And that was really what dragged down my experience. Not just me feeling nothing, but being kind of annoyed that I was being reminded of the first movie. Like, just be your own thing. You don't have to explain everything, because once you do that, it's either just unsatisfying and dumb what the answer is, or it's just eating up the runtime for things that could have been more interesting if you just spent more time on developing the story or making things interesting. And this movie just didn't do that. And the most memorable parts of this movie, for the most part, were just some elements that didn't even matter, like the sea lions. That was pretty memorable to me. I like that a lot. And that's mostly just an example of like what I mean by like things that just don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. And there's a funny after credit scene. That scene I liked, and it was also a callback to the first movie, but it didn't take up a lot of space. The action scenes in this movie were fine, I guess, if you want to call them action scenes, but they didn't really feel like they had much of a purpose or needed to be there. They just kind of happened, and honestly, if they didn't happen at all, the movie would be no different. And there's also parts of this movie that just make absolutely no sense, like why characters know certain things. I was like, okay, you were in this area for however long. Did you go in this area and check yourself? I don't know. There's just some odd decisions made in this movie. But overall, I did find some things to like in this movie. Kind of disappointing for me in terms of comparing it to Finding Nemo. I just was less engaged with it. And that movie not only flew by for me, but I was always engaged in terms of like what was happening story-wise and character stuff that I liked. The music was really good in that movie as well. And this movie just felt kind of empty. Not saying that there's nothing memorable about the movie. It's just what I love the most about the first movie is just not in this one for the most part. So would I recommend this one? I don't know. Maybe, sure, I guess. If you really like Finding Nemo, then sure, you'll find some things to like about Finding Dory. It's just like, for me personally, you watch Finding Nemo, it's like, oh, this is great, I love this. And maybe I would like more. So you pop in Dory and you're like, this is all right. It's kind of one of those sequels, but not the worst thing ever. Could have been worse if they tried less, but I don't know if I'm really going to think about this movie too much. So with all that being said, I'm going to give Finding Dory a 5 out of 10. Thank you for watching my videos. As always, if you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below you thought of Finding Dory, and my social media links, they will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for The Blob from 1988. So look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching and have a great day.